Here's a story about my attempt to photograph a crawler. Be me. Live in a small town in a northern part of the US. Around December of 2022, there had been crawler sightings in town. It got to the point where some people were seeing 2 or 3 at a time every few nights. Don't believe the sightings at first, until one night, I am driving back from my shitty wagey job. Spot 1, walking along the road into the forest. It walked, like both feet were nailed to a plank of wood. It was also gaunt, with long spindly limbs. The thing was naked and half white/gray skin. It didn't get a good look at its face. I doubt it was a homeless person or a drug addict, due to how cold it was that night. Decide to try and get a photograph. Come onto X and ask for tips on cryptid photography. Get some good pointers about getting good camouflage and equipment. Best tip was to ask local hunters for advice. There are a few people who hunt for fun in my town, but most of them go to hunting preserves outside of the town. There are 2 dudes who know how to hunt and have a good understanding of the area. I'll call them Martin and Jake. Martin is 30-ish, kinda shifty and quiet. He moved to the area back in 2016 after getting in trouble with some of the law enforcement down south. He now spends most of his days walking around aimlessly around the town when not drunk in his RV. Jake is 63 years old and has lived in the town since before most of the roads were properly paved. His father used to take him hunting in the woods when he was a child. Both men know a lot about the area and agreed to help me get a few photos. They tell me they want to wait for the storms to subside and the snow to melt a little. Decide that February 28th would be a nice date to shoot for us. Agree, and during the time, they teach me useful stuff like how to avoid detection by fox walking and making camo out of dead foliage. Slowly, sightings of the crawlers dwindle, and by late January, there was only a few sightings every 2 weeks. Weather was pretty bad, so we moved the trip to the 1st of March. Day of the trip comes around. We head into the woods. Jake has his father's old Garand. Martin has an old beat-up Winchester shotgun. We hike in the woods, and for the first few hours, swapping stories and chatting about life. Nothing too bad happened that first night. In the morning, we stumble across something odd. It was a wolf, or what was left of it. It stunk like high heaven, and its head and stomach were the only parts left. The rest of the day, we were more alert. No more fun stories after that. Martin wants to head back. It was pretty cold too, and the previous night had been pretty bad. We decide to cut the trip short by 2 days and just spend one more day out. Jake says we should head to one of the creeks where a few animals usually congregate around. While we're walking to the creek, the smell returns, and it's downright nauseating. Martin starts getting vocal about wanting to head back. Jake also is starting to show concern. At this point, I felt maybe dicking around in crawler territory in wintertime wasn't the best of ideas. We decide that maybe it would just be best to head back to town and come back in the summer. On the way back, Jake says he knows a shortcut to where the van is. He says that there is an old stone path that leads us to the van. We follow, but something starts to feel off. My vision seems to feel off. The best way I can describe it is when an old camera struggles to catch up with rapid movement and everything is glitched. Martin starts saying something about his feet burning. Jake is basically dead quiet the whole time. Sun is starting to head down, and we are nowhere near the van. Ask Jake if we can sit down and tell him how my vision seems fucked. Jake doesn't respond. He just keeps walking forward. I ask if he's alright. No response. Martin asks Jake if something is wrong. No response. My head feels like it's on fire at this point, and I just sit because I just want the pain to stop. Martin starts yelling at Jake, but Jake just keeps moving forward. Finally, Martin shoves Jake to the ground. Jake asks what happened. He says he doesn't know what's going on. My headache was starting to subside a little, but the sun was finally dipping below the horizon. Jake asks where we are. Martin asks Jake what he remembers. He says he remembered us heading to the creek, and then everything after that was blank. We don't know what to do, and we start to panic. The sun goes down, and it's pitch black. This was the first time I realized how dark the night is, without any streetlights or cars. It was like staring at a wall. Could only see like 3 feet in front of me. It was also so cold that it felt like needles were being shoved into my face. Fumble through my bag and pull out a flashlight. While searching for a flashlight, I hear Martin try his best to bring Jake up to speed. I find it, and before I can say anything, Martin goes quiet. Jake goes quiet too. For 10 seconds, it's completely quiet. No animals. No wind. Not even the sound of snow being crunched by footsteps. The smell hits my nose, and it completely overtakes my nose. I start to cough, and then look at Jake and Martin. They are pointing at something. Look to where they're pointing at, and see something white pass cut through a tree. Martin screams, and points his Winchester at something. Jake starts to back away from Martin, and towards me. Point the flashlight in the general direction of where Martin is pointing his gun. It's a crawler. Martin tries to fire his gun, but nothing happens. He tries again, and this time, something does happen. The fucking gun explodes. Birdshot flies everywhere, and Martin falls to the ground. Ears are ringing. Everyone is screaming. Catch a glimpse at the thing. It's taller than any man I've ever seen. His skin is gaunt and colorless. Limbs are spindly, way too weak to support this thing. Face is almost featureless. Almost. I say almost because the eyes are the main feature. Black, like a shark or a dog's eyes. Stare into them, and I am met with the worst feelings. It was like my mind went blank, and every thought was instantly repeated with pure, negative energy. It was like staring into eternity. It was one of the worst feelings, and I am struggling to put it into words of what it was like. Loud bang fills the air. Jake starts firing his rifle and tells me to drag Martin. Martin is on the ground, writhing in agony, cursing and screaming about everything and everyone. Birdshot and bits of metal are embedded in his face, hands, and arms. Help him get onto his feet as I hear a ping. The thing is gone now, and it's just us. The wind starts picking up again. We drag Martin for about 40 minutes, trying to reach a road. We are lucky enough to stumble upon a road, and a car picks us up. Martin had to get a few bandages and stitches. It's been a few days since the incident, and Martin got discharged from the hospital a few days ago. Paid for his hospital bills and tried to talk to him. We talked for only a few minutes about what we saw. The last thing he told me was that he was taking his RV and heading to the southwest. He left 2 days ago. Jake, on the other hand, plans on seeing his family in Florida in a few days. He gets uncomfortable every time I ask about what happened that night. And that's the story of how I saw a crawler and vowed to go never looking for a cryptid. So, no, this one probably isn't all that spooky, and I could tell the paranormal bits in a few lines, but maybe you'll bear with me. This is an event that meant a lot to me, and I want to share it. Grow up in a small house in the suburbs. It's me, my baby sister, Katie, and my parents. I love spending time with my baby sister. She's 4 years younger than me, and basically a little sponge. So I spend a lot of time teaching her all about the shit I think is cool. She thinks I'm a superhero, basically. happyfamilyphoto.png. When I'm 12, Katie dies. I don't want to go into too much detail here, because it's a bad memory. But basically, it was a hit and run on our street. I take it badly. My school grades plummet. My interest in hanging out with friends goes out the window. I just can't fathom it. Why would God allow that to happen to a sweet little girl like Katie? Why would He allow it to happen to me? My faith in God dries up. By the time I was 16, I was a fedora-wearing atheist. Even bought a Richard Dawkins poster for my room. I know, cringe. Fast forward, I'm 20 years old. Drop out of college and move out of my parents' house. Get a job at a restaurant where I make decent tips and can afford to live alone in the city. Doing pretty good, but the bitterness never leaves me. Every year on the anniversary of her death, her smiling face pops up into my head. By that point, I had stopped visiting her grave. It was just too hard. But I always spent the day thinking about her. She was a brave kid, full of energy. My parents were happy to have me around to help look after her. She was a real handful. It was my job to keep her safe. It's my fault she died. Every year I relive that same feeling. Fast forward a couple of years. I'm a trainer at the restaurant where I work. I get tasked with training a new guy named Walt. He's a young black kid from Mississippi, real thin, small, and soft-spoken. I think he's too shy to be a server here, but I train him as best as I can. But his first night was a total disaster, and after one weekend, management canned him. After I got off work, I find him sitting in his car, crying. Long story short, I invite him out for a burger, and we get to talking. He tells me all about his situation, how he's been living with his alcoholic mother and her dickhead boyfriend, how her boyfriend convinced his mom to kick Walt out, how he's been bouncing from job to job for almost a year, struggling to get by, eating maybe once a day at most. Shit, I could go on, but the point is that his story really tugs at my conscience. I don't feel right just going back to my own bullshit little life after that. I invite him to crash at my place until he gets on his feet, and after a lot of hesitation, he finally agrees. Fast forward again. It's about 3 months later, and Walt and I are best buds. We both like movies and good food, I discovered that Walt was a great cook. He even used to set up his ingredients in little bowls on the kitchen counter. Mise en place, or whatever. He'd arrange the bowls in a circle. For good luck, he'd say. I convinced him to find a kitchen job, and he did. He's been working at a nearby barbecue place for a while, and is saving every cent, trying to find a place of his own. He finally finds something. I go with him to check it out. It's affordable, but kind of a lousy little place in a sketch neighborhood. But I've learned that Walt's a proud guy, and to him, it's better than leeching off me. He's set to move in next month. One night before his move, we're casually watching some movies that's on TV and shooting the shit. Walt brings up on how when he was a kid, he had an older brother who was murdered. This was back in Jackson, Mississippi, which, he said, was really segregated and still pretty racist. His brother was attacked one night by some white dudes and they killed him. His mom never got over it and started drinking heavily. Everything fell apart from there. Walt was 10 years old when this happened. He felt like he always had to look out for himself from then on out. His mom treated him like shit. Her boyfriends all treated him like shit. The other kids in his neighborhood weren't any better. They called him a pussy because he was smaller than everyone else. He used to get pummeled a lot. He pauses as he's telling me this, getting choked up. This is the first time in his life that he's felt like anyone gave a shit about him, he tells me, and he wants to thank me for everything. I tell him it's no big deal, and that it felt good to be able to help him. That night, I'm lying in bed, and it hits me. Walt's childhood and mine are total opposites. Walt felt like it was him against the world, that nobody would ever be there for him. I always felt like I let everyone down, that my job was to protect my sister, and I failed. I think about this as I go to sleep. The next day, Walt moves out. Just a couple of months later, Walt's life is looking up. He's managed to fix up his piece of shit car. He's dating some cute waitress who works over at the barbecue place, and his skills in the kitchen have not gone unnoticed. Pretty soon, I'll be in charge of that thing, he told me with a big smile on his face. I congratulate him. He was standing in my doorway, looking happier than I'd ever seen him. That was the last time I saw him. I found out the next day that Walt was killed. Hit and run. The words fucking echo in my head. I'm devastated. I supported Walt as much as I could, but there's a little voice in my head that wants to say, it's your fault. But it's not. There's nothing more than I could have done. I recognize for the first time my sister's death wasn't my fault either. We were both kids. I couldn't have known any better. I didn't see the car coming. I didn't think she'd run into the street. I didn't know what would happen. Scenes of my little sister run through my head. This time, they don't hurt so bad. I said that was the last time I saw Walt, but that's not true. Again, trying to keep this brief here. Walt's funeral comes and goes. A pastor delivers the eulogy, and I think about God for the first time in a long while. It's not fair that life is so pointless, that Walt just has to rot in the dirt after suffering so much, that I have to lose people I care about. It's not fair. A week later, I have a dream. Walt's sitting under a large tree. I tell him I miss him, and he says, "Why? I'm right here." The next morning, I decide to visit Walt's grave and talk to him for a little while. I leave some items I think he'd like, put them all in a little bag the size of your fist, and laid it right there on his grave. In the distance, I notice a large tree that looks like the one from my dream, and I walk over. I'm not sure what I was expecting. It's not like Walt's gonna pop out of nowhere and say hello. It's not like he can hear me. But I still say, "I miss you, man." I instantly feel a strange peace and weird sensation. I can't explain it. Just felt like a really intense form of goosebumps, only pleasant. I walk back towards the cemetery gates. The strange, goosebumpy sensation hasn't gone away, and I look over at Walt's grave as I pass it. I stop. The bag of items is open, and everything spread out over the grave. They're all arranged in a circle. Mise en place. For good luck, I think. This is going to sound silly, but at that moment, a beam of sunlight suddenly streams down onto the grave. I remember Walt saying in my dream, "I'm right here." And I can't explain it, but I can feel his presence. I'm kind of crying at this point. I tell Walt that I'm glad he's okay. I'm glad he's in a better place. I miss my friend. I miss my sister. But I'm starting to think that there's more to life than we think. You can call it coincidence. You can say it's all in my mind. You can say that life is brief, and when we die, we're gone forever. But I'm sorry, I just don't believe it. I made an appointment with a psychiatrist tomorrow, because I honestly think I've lost it. This is my story. It's quite long, so bear with me. Just recently became 20 years old. Want to do something fun for birthday. Invite 3 friends to go urbex and ghost hunting with me in the Czech Republic. 2 destinations are abandoned underground facilities from the Second World War. One destination is a supposedly haunted hill. Another destination is a long tunnel just beneath the ground, which supposedly abruptly ends. Still don't know where that one's supposed to be. You're catching my drift? I think we had a lot planned. Group consists of me, a hipster, a comic nerd, and a rich guy. Be yesterday evening. Hang out in the house of rich guy, check. Smoke some weed and watch Ace Ventura. Decide to take a look at local forest while stoned. Meet some random dude in front of the forest. His English is pretty decent. I'd say even better than mine. He's pretty young. Says he's there quite often. Says he used to do videos there. We don't really know him, but he seems like an alright person. Plus, we might need someone who knows the area. So we ask him to chill with us in the forest. He takes a long look into the forest. Listen, man. I'm not letting you enter that forest. We are confused, asking him whether he's the forest gatekeeper or something. He completely avoids eye contact with us, staring into the forest. Nerd starts grinning and shouts, "Creepypasta time!" with a melodic voice. Some of us laugh. Forest dude is visibly annoyed. He mocks our laughter and tells us to fuck off. Rich Anon is getting upset. Hipster Anon too. Forest dude's eyes are trailing something in the forest in short bursts of movement. Without looking away from the forest, he says, "Creepypasta. Okay. So, you are, like, into creepy stuff, right?" I was too. He licks his lips and cowers a little, as if he's trying to look beneath something. Nerd Anon is now joking about me having planned all of this. Forest Bro is fucking pissed. His entire body language is saying, "I'm prepared to fight you." Fists clenched and feet wide apart, he finally turns towards us. 2 options. You leave, or I make you leave. We mock Forest Dude a little, but we turn around. Suddenly, Rich Anon turns towards the forest again and starts sprinting inside. Instinctively, we follow him. Because we're a bunch of dumbasses. We make bird noises while running past Forest Dude, who desperately tries to catch one of us. Forest Dude stops chasing us right after the first tree. He's crying now, hysterical, begging us not to go inside. He's offering us money, his car, and some inaudible things. At this point, we really think he's gone nuts. After about 20 minutes of walking, Hipster Anon sits down on a large rock. We sit around him, starting to roll new joints. Talking about a restaurant where you can get an entire menu for like €8 and it's fucking delicious. Nerd Anon stares at his half-rolled joint. Dudes, I'm out. Not smoking anymore. Total paranoia. He passes his weed, but we don't really bother asking him what's wrong, since he always was kinda weird. We toke up and continue north. Sorry for breaking the story. I should have listened to the Forest Dude. We find a half-rotten, half-gnawed boar carcass. Nerd Anon is freaking out, begging us to leave. Claims he knows his shit. Claims there's no animal in these forests able to kill a boar. Getting a bad feeling as well, suggests we head back. Hipster Anon says we should look for mushrooms on the way out, the normal ones. We spread out a little and look for mushrooms. Surprisingly, there are none. I get a little bit distracted by a weird stump and get separated off of the group. As we get back together, it seems that Nerd Anon cheered up a bit. At least he's not frightened anymore. We make our way back. Rich Guy laughs loudly as he sees that Forest Dude is still in front of the forest. Forest Dude is anxiously walking up and down. No trace of him being angry at us, just frightened or worried or something. We decide to apologize to him and offer him a beer. As we walk out of the forest, he's relieved at first, until he sees Nerd Anon. His eyes widen, and you could see that his breath stopped for a moment as he turned pale. He suddenly smiles and accepts our offer. On the way, we're talking about nothing in particular. Forest Dude turns to Nerd Anon and asks him, "How long has Rich Anon lived up there?" Nodding towards Rich Anon's house. Nerd Anon says he doesn't know. We all remember the fucked up night we had as we had a goodbye Rich Anon party in his house, since he was leaving our country to live back in Czech Republic. Think that Nerd Anon probably smoked too much, so he doesn't remember it. Forest Dude cautiously looks at each one of us, as if he's expecting some sort of reaction. Fast forward a few minutes. We're in a hospoda, a bar/restaurant now. Locals make comments about Forest Dude, which I don't understand. He's annoyed by them. We start drinking beer and mixtaxa. Only Nerd Anon is drinking water. Forest Dude suggests we play a round of darts. All but Nerd Anon agrees. He wants to read or something. Plus, he's not feeling too well. We start playing darts. Forest Dude sucks, and talk feels extremely forced. He suddenly tells us that he's getting a new round of beer. After he's taken too long, I decide to follow him. He's standing at the bar, occasionally peeping towards Nerd Anon. I confront him, but he puts his arm around me and draws me in close, while raising his fingers to his lips, signaling me to be quiet. I give him the benefit of the doubt. "I will say what I have to say. Please listen carefully. After that, do with me what you want. I gave your friend gold dust. My father is a goldsmith. Watch your friend. I tried to inconspicuously peep over to Nerdanon. The skin on his neck is bumpy, as if there was something beneath it. From the looks of it, wrinkled skin, or maybe feathers. I look back at Forest Dude, and he just nods at me, as if he was trying to say, "Told you so." I'm fed up with all of this. So, I ask the bartender for a pack of smokes, and ask Forest Dude if he wants to smoke one with me outside. Catch some fresh air. Forest Dude understands this is a cover for me to talk to him alone, and loudly accepts the offer. Outside, it's night already. Don't expect answers. I don't have any, starts Forest Dude. Before I can say anything, he continues. I have no idea where it came from, how many there are, or whether it is my fault or not. They are allergic to gold dust. That's all I can say for sure. I laugh a bit, dizzy from booze and weed, and ask whether he's trying to pull a prank on me. He starts rambling about some rituals he did in the woods, and that he started noticing weird things in his videos, and I don't really remember what else. He was confused and very upset. There's no commotion, he said. We should get inside, see what's going on. We walk in, but only Hipster Anon is sitting at the table. Nerd Anon and Rich Anon nowhere to be seen. We casually ask where they are. Hipster Anon says that Nerd Anon wasn't feeling well, so he went out in the back. We kept on drinking, and I'm really drunk at this point. Rich Anon and Nerd Anon walk in. Nerd Anon is exchanging mean looks with Forest Dude. The rest of the evening is a foggy mess, and not really noteworthy. Forest Dude left us after a while, and we stumbled home. I wake up a little earlier than usual, due to having to take a massive piss. Walk downstairs. Notice Rich Anon taking off his soaking wet hoodie, and Nerd Anon putting away 2 pairs of shoes covered in mud. Ask them where they were. They say they were just taking a walk. Be suspicious about them and try to do what Forest Dude did earlier. What a shame. We agreed not to visit the underground facilities. I'd love to see them. They both say they don't want to. Started to get really uncomfortable. Lock the door to my room and sleep until noon. Someone knocks at my door. It's Rich Anon. Says they all want to check out the forest again. Still confused and tired, I follow him out of the house. All 3 of my friends, and even Forest Dude, are standing there. All of them in a cheerful mood. They start talking about the neat stone on which one of them sat on the day before, and how much fun it'll be. Forest Dude smiles. Let's go, he says. I thought you didn't want anyone to walk into the forest. He laughs and says that he had a bad day. We should totally take a walk in the forest today. I suggest we have a small breakfast first. Rush up to Rich Anon's room and take 2 gold rings into his father's workshop. Manage to get some gold dust. At this point, I'm too scared and confused to think rationally. All of them are just drinking water, while I'm having boiled eggs. I ask them if they want some of the ham we bought yesterday. They all agree. I sprinkle the gold dust on it, as if I'm putting it on a dish. They start devouring it like crazy, giving me an occasional, seductive glance. Their skin is bumpy. Their teeth are sharp. As they continue munching on the ham, I notice small parts of their finger sticking to the table and to whatever else they touch. They notice that I was staring at them, and and exchange meaningful looks. "I think we should get going, Anon," says Nerd Anon. I tell them I'm feeling sick. They should leave without me. Without hesitation, they do so. Walk up to my room, lock the door, call a psychiatrist friend, get on X, start thread. Hey X, let me tell you a story. Pic is a map of the place I was staying, just to give you a better feel for what's going on. The green is all forest, and the yellow is grassy areas. The house was on a hill, and the brown stuff is a path. This is my cousin's property, where I visited recently. Shit went down. Never going back. B, 23. Go visit cousin in the country for 3 days. He has a house with a small lake, a large pond, or whatever, big enough to swim in. His property also has decent amount of thick forest. Forest surrounds the lake, his house, and this largish field area. Field has a shed filled with junk. It's a pretty cool place. I used to go as a young kid. Basically spent every summer there of my life until I was 12. Suddenly stopped going, and whenever I told my mom I wanted to go back, she just said no. Gave no reason, just no. Eventually give up and move on. But a few weeks ago, I got a call from my cousin. "Hey, I haven't seen you in forever. Come visit sometime." Why not? My cousin tells me I can bring a friend or two, if I want. But he says he's inviting some friends over too. His parents are on a cruise, in the Caribbean, apparently, and he's house sitting. He's older than me, 25 or 26 I think. So, go visit with buddies of mine, Mark and Aiden. Meet cousin, Luke, and his 5 friends, Chris, Mary, Henry, Jesse, a girl, and Jasper. 8 of us in total. Me and my buddies arrive around 1 and unpack our stuff. Greeted with weed and beer. Cool, all my cousin's friends seem like chill people. Eventually settle in. Head out to the lake, swim until it's about 3 or 4. While swimming, I have this bad feeling, as if I'm being watched. Wave it off. Enjoy girls in bikinis and the booze. Cousin has a water trampoline for the lake. Also, a paddle boat. Dick around all afternoon until about 6. Cousin tells us it's time to wrap it up. Psh, party pooper, we all say. Cousin just waves it off, and even though we argue, he makes us head up to the house. We eat some pasta for dinner, and it's like 7 now. Beautiful summer night. I want to watch the sunset. Grab a 6-pack and head outside. "Where are you going, Anon?" my cousin asks. "Oh, just outside. It's a nice night," I say. Cousin looks nervous. "IDK about that, Anon. There's bears outside. They get pretty close to the house." "Well, if that happens, I'll just come inside," I tell him. Still, looks worried. Lets me go. Chill outside for a little bit. Cousin comes outside after a while. Brings gun with him. Lol, what? "What the fuck you need this for?" I ask. Me, being raised in the suburbs, I've never touched a gun before, let alone seen a real one. You know, just in case. Sit outside for a while. The sun is gone and it starts to get dark. Cousin insists we go inside. I give in. He locks the door behind us, but I notice there's a huge fucking deadbolt on the door. Like, really big. Unreasonably big. 3 other smaller locks on the door as well. Whatever, I guess. They're just secure. Head upstairs and chill with everyone else. They're watching a movie and smoking some weed. Take a seat next to Mary because she's hot, and I'm trying to get my dick wet. We chat it up She's cool and drunk and high. Easy picking, boys. She suggests we go somewhere quieter. Head over to a bedroom on the first floor. Start making out. Get some opt action. She's topless. She suddenly stops. What's wrong? I ask. She says nothing and just stares behind me, kinda like she's looking for something. Suddenly, she screams. Loudest fucking scream I've ever heard. Runs out of the fucking room, topless. I look behind me. Nothing there. What the fuck? Am I that repulsive? Grab her shirt and bra and follow her out. She's sitting in the middle of the living room in the fetal position. I give her the shirt and shit. She's putting it back on as everyone else runs downstairs. What's wrong? I ask. What's wrong? What the fuck was that screaming? Everyone else asks. She doesn't talk for a few minutes. People start saying I took advantage of her. I'm like, nope, shut the fuck up. She finally speaks up. Thanks, bitch. Now tell them I didn't take advantage of you. What she says clears my name, but also fucking ruins my vacation. While we were hooking up, I told you it was consensual. I looked out of the window and thought I saw something. But because the light was on, I couldn't really see out the window all that well, she says. Makes sense. All of a sudden, someone's face gets real close to the window, except their face was all wrong. What? Their eyes were all sunken in, and their nose seemed really broken. Everyone is quiet as fuck listening to her. And their mouth was just hanging open, almost crooked. Like they had a dislocated jaw or something. Everyone starts freaking out. OMG, there's creepers watching us. What the fuck? Ew, gross. He sounded ugly. Some people think she's kidding. It was probably just Anon's reflection, Aiden says. I'm being fucking serious right now, you fucks. Mary snaps at him. I know what I fucking saw. All this time, my cousin is just quiet. Hasn't said a word yet. I ask him what he thinks. Everyone shuts up and listens to him. I think we shouldn't worry about it, he says. The fucker was wrong and he knew it. Mary gets mad at people for not taking her seriously, but eventually calms down. We all settle down and sleep upstairs in the big room with the TV. The rest of the night is uneventful. Day 2. Wake up. Still a little weirded out from last night's events. Whatever, probably just some weirdo. Won't happen again. Start out the day just fine. Eat breakfast. Go for a morning hike with everyone, except Mary, who left that morning in her own car. Smoke a little. Head back. All the while feeling awfully paranoid that someone was watching us. Start swimming. Sitting on the water trampoline. Look out into the forest. See someone standing there. They're pretty far away, so I can't see who it is. I wave. They wave back, but the waved seemed real sluggish, almost slow motion. Look back at group. There's only 5 of us, total at the lake. Me, Aiden, Luke, Mark, and Chris. Everyone else went to smoke. I assume it's one of them. Look back at where the person was. They're gone now. I guess they moved on. Everyone who was gone suddenly shows up. How do you guys get around the lake so quickly? I ask them. They're confused. Says they were in the house eating. What? I waved at you though. Dude, what are you talking about? We've all been inside. Okay, what? Cousin Luke looks worried. He looks out into the forest. I'm weirded out now. Level 5 nope alert right now. Something's up. I get off of the water trampoline and ask my cousin what's up. Not right now, I'll tell you later. Okay, whatever. It's about 6 or 7 p.m. Meanwhile, Chris, Henry, and Jesse go out to the shed to get a shovel. They want to dig a hole so we can have a fire pit tonight. Gone for a while. Suddenly, hear a screech from the forest. More screeches. Luke tells us all to go the fuck inside now. We all nope our way to the house. What the fuck is going on? He says nothing at first. They aren't supposed to come out during the day, he says to himself. They're breaking the rules. What the fuck are you saying? Hear a banging at the door. It's Chris screaming at the top of his lungs. Open the door, Jesus Christ. You cunts. Open the door. Luke opens the door and Chris barges in. Henry and Jesse are nowhere to be found. Where are Henry and Jesse? Luke asks. Fuck if I know. I got separated, and these things fucking start chasing me. Luke goes around the house and locks all the doors and windows, and closes all the shutters. We all go upstairs. Look out window down the hill. See dozens of figures walking around near the edge of the woods. It wasn't even walking. It was more like they were jittering their way around. Like they were having seizures while walking. Even more, standing near the shed on the other side of the woods. Just standing there. What the fuck? Aiden says. What? I ask, but I don't need him to answer. Henry and Jesse are on the path on their way from the cabin, as if nothing is wrong. They're just fucking walking really slow. Walk up to the door and try to get in. Start knocking. Shouldn't we let them in? Still knocking nonstop. Luke is silent for a moment, like he's seen this before, but doesn't want to tell us. It isn't them, he says. What the fuck? What do you mean it isn't them? Still knocking. Louder now. More than just one hand. Like a bunch of people knocking together. That's not them. It looks like them, but it isn't. We need to fucking leave. We wait until morning, but no one sleeps. Knocking all throughout the night. Endless screeching from everywhere. Eventually, screeching dies down. Knocking fades too by the morning. But Henry and Jesse are still there. I look outside from the window, above the front door. They're both staring straight at the door. Suddenly, they both look up right at me. Their eyes look gone. Just deep empty sockets. Jaws are slack. Fucking stare into my soul. There aren't any eyes, but I can still feel them looking, even after I leave the window. I will never forget that look. Around 9 a.m., Luke decides it's time to go. Luke grabs his gun, gives his Ollie golf club that belongs to his dad. We're all just going to run to the cars. Don't look around, just go. He tells me to drive the Range Rover, and Chris is going to drive the sedan. After designating where everyone is going to sit, we all pile up by the car door. Luke opens it slightly, looks around, then starts booking it to the car. We all follow. Get in the cars. See Henry and Jesse running after us. But they aren't running. Almost like they're sliding across the grass while standing up. Like puppets on a string. We get in the car. Jasper won't get into the car because he doesn't want to leave them behind. Luke fucking punches him in the face and throws him into the passenger seat of the sedan. We drive off, Henry and Jesse chasing us. Loud screeching from every fucking where. They almost drown out the sound of the engine. The screeches sound like what I imagine a man-bat would sound like. I see figures on the side of the road, and I occasionally see faces. They're exactly what Mary described. I wish I could forget them. They look gross, deformed, and improper. They all had slack jaws, but one side of the jaw usually hung lower than the other. Their shoulders were lopsided, their stance and crooked, and their legs seemed broken and backwards, like a grasshopper's legs. Kept seeing them until we left the foresty area. Drive 90 all the way home. A few days after I got home, I called my cousin and asked him what went down. He just kept telling me to forget it. I asked him about the things he said, like when under his breath he said, "They're breaking the rules." Always just tells me to forget it ever happened, because it would be better that way. B20. Basically homeless. Aunt offers me to stay in the summer cottage that belonged to my family. Cool, no rent. Spend summer in the family cottage. 15-minute drive from the nearest town. The place has no electricity, but it does have a diesel generator that powers the place. However, it's really loud. Organize and clean during the day. Sleep when it gets dark. Be completely alone. One day, after being there for almost a week, hear disembodied talking around me. No biggie. Maybe some group of people walking nearby. At night, I turn on the generator for lighting and charging my stuff. Inside the cottage, hear disembodied laughing. Like mischievous children or chipmunk effect laughing. And it sounds like it's close. Sometimes in different tones and at random intervals. Sometimes 5 cackles in a row. Sometimes 1, randomly followed by hours of silence. I believed it was a generator making vibrations in the wood. I told myself that to ease the nerves. Around 10 p.m., turn off the generator. Complete silence. I can hear the wind cracking through the windows. The laughing returns, but this time, sounds like it's coming from outside. I decide to ignore it. Many weeks later, see Aunt. Told her about the laughing and the generator. She tells me, "OMG, Anon, you hear them too?" "Hear what?" "The gnomes." She tells me that almost everyone has heard them, and kids can see them. And the whole forest is infested with them. And she said that Grandma said, if you are good, you can hear them, but only those who are pure can see them. She calls them duendes. B. From Peru, Ayacucho. B. On the countryside, playing with my brother. Something appears before us. His skin is like wood, hair thick but clean. His cloth is just bright and shiny, but his eyes are eerily black, and his height cannot be more than 40 centimeters. My brother pulls me his way and takes my arm. The duende starts talking. "Don't worry, kid. I'm just bored and want to play with you," while grinning. My brother shouts, we don't want to, and that he should leave. Duende takes out green coins and says, "I'm gonna bet these, kiddo, and each grants you a wish." My brother responds, "And what could you possibly want from us?" The duende starts, "You will give me 3 bottles of wine that your parents keep for each coin." We looked at each other and said, "Deal," as the game started. We played canicas. For those of you that don't know, you draw a circle and have to throw the balls on the circle with yours. We played and played until a wow resounded. Me and my brother looked and saw our dog growling at the duende. He stood up and said, "Well, I think we played enough for now, but someday we will settle this, kids." took all the things in his pockets, and said, "I will keep these until then." When my brother and I, and the dog, returned to the house, we found out 4 days had passed, and all the village was looking for us. We told them what happened, and we were beaten because we did not listen. This happens a lot here, X. Kids just disappear, and the news and government say it's because of traffic of children and that bullshit. But in this sierra, we know it's because of duendes. They mess up your senses of time and space and lure you with their wealth. I have returned each year to that village on summer, but each time I just leave 3 bottles of wine with my brother and ask to wait a little longer until we are older. A part of my family are from the countryside, campo and español. They all live in a small town near the mountains and a sort of plains combined with forest. My cousins were enjoying the countryside near the town. In the place where they hang out, there is, or was, a shitty old colonial house. Time goes by, and most of them are drunk, and everyone is inside the house. The thing is that someone wants to take a shit or pee. They have to leave the house because the bathroom is outside. One of the girls goes to the bathroom. When she was outside, everyone hears a scream and run outside. My cousin, the one that was in the bathroom, is freaked out because something opened the door while she was peeing. Describes that thing as an old midget man with a spooky smile, white beard. Everyone is freaked out because that's what we call a duende. They get inside the house. When suddenly everyone is inside, they start to hear steps outside. Suddenly, no more steps, and that thing is running towards the house now. They started hearing more and more of those things running outside the house. Absolute fear, and now they're praying. No one sleeps that night, and never return to the house. Sorry for my English. I'm from Chile, and this could be the worst green text ever. Duendes are part of the local myth of the people who live in the campo. So, before I start the small story, I like to say, I think the OP got the word wrong. I'm not sure. I think he meant to put el enano, but in the story he calls it el enano. I'm just gonna go with el enano, since that's what he wrote. Anyways, on to the story. All this reminds me of a story of El Enano. El Enano is a little being. Looks a bit like Gollum from the Hobbit cartoon. Always hungry. Comes into a tiny Latin American village. Starts eating all their food. Villagers, not strong enough to stop him. He attacks them if they try. One smart lady throws 2 round smooth rocks on a campfire and yells for El Enano as he goes from hut to hut, eating up everything. Tells him, "There are 2 potatoes cooking in that fire." El Enano snatches the hot rocks out of the fire and gobbles them up. Rocks start burning his insides. He runs to the stream, gulps down water. Hot rocks turn the water into steam. El Enano explodes. No more El Enano. My dad has told the story several times since I was a child. He is now over 65 years old, and this happened when he was 7 or 8 years old. Be my dad as a kid in late 1950s. He lived in a rural zone in a small town in Tamaulipas, northeastern Mexico. Walking his way to/from home a couple of miles. He was alone. Mexican old schoolers aren't scared. There's a bull calf with a rope tied from the neck to a wood stake. It's moving and lifting dust. Dad gets closer. Now he can tell calf is moving desperately side to side, all around the stake, as long as the rope allows to. Then he sees them. Calf has 4 or 5 little humanoid beings over, grabbing him from neck, tail, and legs. Dad says they look translucent just like Predator or Halo camouflage, but were no more than 50 centimeters tall. He says he could still remember them. They looked like they were having so much fun. I'd EK if literally, but he says he shat his pants and ran away. Have to mention, my dad is mostly skeptical for this stuff, but says that's what his eyes saw. I live in North Argentina, near the border with Bolivia. Grandma and sisters lived in a very far away area. Day and a half by horse to get to their house. Someday, a stone hit the house after they arrived from the city. From that day, non-stop stoning to the house. And anyone coming near the house, men of the house, start firing at the forest. Nothing. Doggos didn't do anything. Like if it wasn't something bad. Only in the middle of cattle found peace. Called priest. Didn't even go. They all became sick from stress after 3 months of day and night stoning. Someday, old woman comes, picked up a stone, and said, "Duendes." Drank some mate and went alone to the woods, speaking like she was telling off a kid. Yo te voy a enseñar que andas apedrando donde hay chicos. Basically translates, I'm gonna teach you a lesson, throwing stones at children. Immediately stops. Woman comes back, doesn't want money. Some more mate and goes. My grandma told me the story. I asked her sister without telling her what exactly she told me. It was the exact same story. Okay, X. I've been wanting to tell you this for a while. For some background, I work in a petrol station located on the highway. Mostly night shifts, 3 p.m. to midnight. So I'm used to the weird, the creepy, and the downright paranormal. But this... normal shift. People coming and going. It's about 7. Things are dark, and the store is slowing down a bit. Behind console area. Look to my left and lock eyes. Not that I could mind you. With a woman. Frail. Thin. Elderly. With wrinkled skin. And giant fly-eyed sunglasses on. That cover half her face. Immediately get the jitters from her. She walks slowly to the door. I had to manually make it open to let her in, as the auto doors didn't pick her up. Makes her way to the console. Stares at me. Can't tell. Still wearing those creepy sunnies. Can you come outside and take a look at my car? I think something's wrong. Voice is soft in volume, but deep and resonating. Like I felt it more than I heard it. Decline. Explain policy with leaving, as only staff on site. Okay then. She walks off to the toilet. Now, here's where alarm bells start going off. Serving other customers. Stragglers here and there. She comes out of the bathroom after 5 minutes. Walks over to me. There's no toilet paper. Could you come get me some? Alarm bells. Something in my head says not to go there. Get some staff toilet paper from behind the console. Here you go, ma'am. Her demeanor is sour. Or, as far as I can tell with those fucking sunnies. Okay. She walks back into the toilet. About another 5 minutes, she walks back out and wanders around the shop. I watch her and notice she flicks her head in my direction every now and then, like scanning me. She walks to the coffee machine, then calls out to me. Her voice is louder this time, but it feels more like a knife this time, shrill and freezing. There's no milk in here. Can you replace it? I'd like coffee. I know I should do it. But fuck. Something is fucking up. Alarm in my body and brain were screaming not to. Decline and say, I can't leave the console at this hour of the night. She gets visibly annoyed, saying how shitty my customer service is. She threatens to contact a manager if I didn't come out and change the milk. Decline and apologize. Even offer manager's number. She tries 3 more times to get me out over the next 20 minutes. She finally gives up and walks off, glaring at me through the windows as she rounds the shop out of sight. Rest of the shift goes by without a hitch. No creepy things. Surprisingly mellow and normal shift. Still, have a sense of dread in my stomach. Swap over and leave at 12:30 a.m. Walk into my car about 50 meters in the parking lot. As I get closer, the fucking glasses, scarf, and gloves she was wearing, around folded neatly, the glasses resting on top, in a pile on the ground, by my driver's side door. Look around. Sense of dread intensifying. Quick as a flash, I unlock my car, jump in, and lock it again. No time to relax. Start car, and gun it out of there. Never been so fearful in my life. The sense of dread never left. I got home, and needed a few drinks before I could loosen up to even consider to sleep. From Gasconade County, Missouri. That's Missouri for you fellers out in the sticks. I have a story that's not spooky, but involves some dumb stuff that my grandpa, aka Papa, used to do. 9 years old. Parents were shitty alcoholics, so they used to drop me off with my grandparents pretty much every week. They got a little too drunk one weekend and tried to drive. That was the end of them. My grandparents were way too old to really watch me at that point. So Grandpa had this trick to keep me in line. Next to his chair, he used to keep this cardboard cylinder, one of those from a used up paper towel roll. Before I ever went outside to play, he'd say, "Don't go anywhere. You're not supposed to. Because my truth-telling stick will find out." "Yes, Papa," I'd say, and then I'd go play, being extra careful not to do anything bad. Every time I returned home, Grandpa would pull out his truth-telling stick again. He'd look at me through it like a pirate with a telescope. "Where you been today, Sonny?" "The woods, Papa." "Good boy. Now go get your bath." This became our ritual. Every time I stopped believing in it, Grandpa just used the truth-telling stick to mess with me. Here's a stupid example, just to give you an idea. One time, we're eating supper, and Grandma asked how I liked the stew she made. I told her I liked it fine, and Grandpa pulled the truth-telling stick from out of nowhere and said, "He thinks it's salty." Just dumb stuff like that. Also, when I was 14, I developed this huge crush on a girl from school. One time, she came to our house for a get-together or something. I was too much of a pussy to make a move, but Grandpa knew I liked her, so we offered to read our fortunes with that damn cardboard roll. Cringe department, please hold." After sizing us up for a moment, Grandpa said, "You two are destined to get married." Super embarrassing, but it broke the ice, and she and I ended up laughing about it and talking. Afterwards, while everyone was inside, we ended up making out behind the house. Base department. Anyway, Papa did all sorts of stuff like that. Like, he used to say the truth-telling stick could predict the weather. I'd ask him to make a prediction, and he would be right every fucking time. Obviously, he had some trick, but it was still impressive. Anyways, he died a few years back. It was a very dark time for me. A few months before he died, he and I had some really serious talks. Stuff I never talked about with anyone. Like my parents, and how angry I was with them. Those talks were the first time I really confronted the fact that one day my grandpa would die too, and I would be left alone all over again. I don't know if it sounds cheesy, but I got kinda scared. Then, he fell ill. On his deathbed, he made me promise to keep my inheritance safe. I was confused, till I realized he meant the truth-telling stick, and I laughed. I thought it was another one of his jokes, but he got real serious, and told me to promise him that I would use it sometime. So I promised. Anyways, after he died, I was really grief-stricken, and I wound up picking up that stupid roll of cardboard and looking through it. And I saw there was a paper rolled up inside. Before I even opened it, I realized why the old man had made me promise that I wouldn't throw it away. It was a simple letter. This is the truth. I love you, son. You crazy old dogger. I miss you, Papa. I don't know if this makes a good green text or not, but here's my experience. Fall of 2016. Grandpa dies at 86. Fast forward a couple of weeks. Dad calls me to Mom's and says he thinks Grandpa is still here. Says he's been hearing weird shit. I think he's just grieving cause he's now alone in the same house where both my grandparents lived. Next time I visit him, he sounds believable, not distraught, not freaking out at every random noise. Fast forward a day or so. We were watching television in a living room. Dog on a pet bed to our right, and stairs to front door parallel behind us. The fucking stairs start creaking, like when they're walked on. What? .jpg? Nothing ambiguous about it. Heard it many, many times. Dad gives me, I know you hear that. Look. The dog gets up and goes to the top of the stairs, ears perked. Starts looking and wooing at us in confusion when nobody's there. He was a very talky dog. Dad says the dog's never heard it before. We decide the dog is our control and neither of us are crazy. Get idea. We raise Grandpa's stair chair from the bottom to the top of the stairs. We leave a glass of milk by Grandpa's armchair, like he's always asked for. We put on his favorite show, General Hospital, on. Me, Dad, and the dog never hear anything ever again.